Welcome to the Tuesday, March the 19th, 2024 Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. Crystal, if you would go ahead and do the roll call.
Board Member Bowdish.
I'm here.
Dietrich.
Yes.
Gillespie.
Here.
Gillette. Morissette.
Present.
4 members present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting. Agenda packets are available on the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov under the Public Facilities District Board webpage. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC TV channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamlined on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and Microsoft Teams. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and/or questions by contacting the Pasco Public Facilities District Executive Director or the Pasco City Clerk.
And I would note that we've received no notification or request.
Okay. Crystal, if you would please read the recognition of visitors, public comments.
This item is provided to allow the public the opportunity to bring items to the attention of the Pasco Public Facilities District Board or to express an opinion or an issue. Its purpose is not to provide a venue for debate or for the posing of questions with the expectation of an immediate response. Some questions require consideration by board over time and after a deliberative process with input from different sources. Some questions are best directed to staff members who have access to specific information. Public comments will normally be limited to 3 minutes by each speaker. Those with lengthy messages are invited to summarize their comments and/or submit written information for consideration by the PPFD board outside of formal meetings. Lastly, when called upon, please state your name and city or county residency into the microphone before providing your comments.
Thank you, Crystal. Is there anybody present or online who would like to speak to the board at this time? Nobody? Okay, thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda, approval of minutes, which we need an approval of the board meeting minutes from February 2024. Someone would please read the motion.
I move to approve the meetings of the PFD of February 20th, 1924.
So a motion has been made to approve the Pasco Public Facilities District Board meeting minutes from the February 20th, 2024 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion?
Can I ask what the changes that were made at the last minute and we got another page?
Ms. Gillespie did a little modification, a little bit more closely adhering to what she presented at the last meeting. She noted some slight discrepancies. Is that a fair summary, Ms. Gillespie?
Yes. The changes were mine.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Hearing no votes against, the ayes have it. The motion is carried, is passed. Item number 4, the claims approval. The first one is a motion to approve the December 2023 the district claims and the accounts payable in the amount of $122,391.62.
Would you like a presentation by by Darcy?
I was thinking we'd do that during the discussion, but go ahead if you want to. I'm good.
Okay, I can do that now.
So are you going to be under the financial report or at this time?
Well, I could see how you might want me to provide some explanation before approving. So if that sounds fair, I'll do that. Okay.
Go ahead, please.
That sounds good. Thank you for this opportunity to look at the paperwork that's been provided about financial information. We are backtracking a little bit this meeting on claims for December. As you recall, at our last meeting, we had a number that was not representative of the claims. And so we have the right number now, the $122,391.62, and you have a listing of those claims and expenses in your packet, and you can see that the claims amount are accounts payable, so those are representative of either checks that are issued on the behalf of the PFD, or if there was an instance for an EFT. I don't know that we've done that, but that also can happen sometimes. So the accounts payable are the claims amounts that we're requesting approval of. And then there also are times expenses that are not related to checks, and most often those are either internal entries between the city and the PFD, or in the case of the end of the year, we do make accrual entries to make sure that revenues and expenses are reported in the year they were earned or incurred. And so there's some expense entries also, but the claims are what we're looking for approval for. And then we have the expenses. Also, there are the other entries that are general ledger entries. So you can, and the reason that we're putting both of them on the list is so that, for example, if you look at your February budget performance report for the current month transactions, you can see that under the expenses, so there's revenues first and then expenses, and the 54s are all service type expenses. And so you can see for the current month transactions, the total is $41,201.29, which is also the number on the February claims and expenses report. So we chose to present it this way so you could see how the activity works together, and just provide as much transparency as possible, so you can see how the accounting is working. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to discuss it further. Okay.
Good. So where are we at in this process? Has somebody seconded this yet or not? Okay, so then, maybe it'd be,
Do you want me to?
yes.
So I do request a motion to approve the December 2023 PFD or PPFD claims or accounts payable in the amount of $122,391.62.
Very good, thank you, Darcy. Is there a second?
I would suggest that a board member actually will read and make the full motion.
Well, we're turning this into complicated.
Do you want me to read it?
Go ahead, please.
I move to approve the December 2023 PPFD claims, accounts payable in the amount of $122,391.62.
All right, very good. And Caroline, you seconded?
Yes.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the December 2023 district claims in the amount of $122,391.62. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote no. The ayes have it, the motion is carried. Now we're on to February.
Same, yes, and I do recommend approval of the claims that are listed there, the $112.42.62. Same situation where we have actual payments that were made and then entries related to time, recognizing expenses in the right year that make the expenses lower because we get them, they were really 2023 expenses. So that 41,000 that is reported for 2024 is lower by that amount, but the actual dollars that went out of PPFD's bank account for February's activity was the $112.42.62.
Are there any questions for Darcy? And if not, if somebody would please read the motion.
Okay. I move to approve the February 2024 PPFD claims, accounts payable in the amount of $112,042.62.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the February 2024 claims, the amount of $112,042.62. Is there any, I take it there's no further discussion? Spence, anybody got anything to add or ask about? Hearing none, then let's go ahead and call for the question. All those in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries.
And staff also wants to thank you for walking deliberately through the December ones in particular, since we had had difficulty the last meeting with that. So we're continually trying to improve our process and make it more streamlined.
Financial report, item number 5 on the agenda. Darcy, I guess this is back to you.
Okay, so included in your packet, as typical, is their budget performance report, which we looked at briefly just in relationship to how the claims affect that report. For this report is through the end of February and shows any revenues receipted or expenditures, and also the budget, so that you can kind of keep track as we go through the months of actual activity to budgeted activity. One thing I wanted to note is that you can see that for the current month's transactions in the revenue lines, there is no revenue reported, and that is related to we receive sales tax in essentially in arrears from when it's paid by purchasers. When any of us makes purchases in the city of Pasco, we pay the sales tax, which in turn gets remitted to the state and then returned to the whatever jurisdiction the tax has been collected on behalf of. And so while we did receive funds in January and February, those funds were for the year 2023. And so those are some of those entries we've made to get them in the right period. And in your next month report, you will see actual revenue posted there for 2024. And then I don't believe there's, everything else there is pretty standard. On the expense side, there is some effect of those entries that move things back in 2023 that are affecting the organizational services, and everything else is recurring expenses that have been standard from month to month and are listed on that expense and claims listing as well. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to assist.
Any questions or comments for Darcy? Hearing none, then we'll move on to item number 6, reports from committees. First, the Design and Construction Committee. Marie?
Well, the Design and Construction Committee, once again, has been very busy. We've continued to make very good forward progress. Our meetings in the last month have continued to gather data and perform exercises to determine the scope and the programming that we will provide with the Aquatic Center. We do continue to still have challenges related to unknowns about the land purchase, the land development cost, and the final bonding numbers. This is a big challenge that affects our ability to determine the budget for the construction and the amenities. But the design build team has been able to continue forward progress with these unknowns. I do want to note that the time is coming within the next couple of months when these financial aspects of the project must be known, or it will slow our progress down significantly. Community input via the online survey and in-person outreach activities is remaining consistent for the past few weeks. The top 10 amenities are the lazy river, the colorful lighting, wave pool, a floating obstacle course, a jump platform, indoor water slide, outdoor water slide, a ninja course, and hot tubs. I think this is consistent with the sticker board activity that we did at our last board meeting. So we're moving forward with conceptual designs using this input from the community. I still think that we should consider providing more focus on providing year-round amenities. Pasco and the region have multiple options for summer outdoor pools and water recreation, but very limited indoor year-round options. And so this has an impact on how the budget will be spent. And this is going to be a decision that we'll make going forward, and we'll lay the groundwork for that tonight. The team has been working on developing the choosing by advantages chart, which we'll use to determine which of the three options to focus our design on. Option 1, which is 60% of the resources on the outdoor and 40% indoor. Option 2 flips that and goes 40-60 outdoor indoor, and option 3 focuses more on the indoor amenities with some outdoor features. In the last couple of meetings, WTI has presented information to us. Specifically last week, we talked about types of pool construction, with the two types being traditional concrete and then the Murtha system, which comes from Italy. NAC and Boughton will prepare a choosing by advantages exercise that will be included in the validation report. And we're going to need to make a decision on which type of pool construction to use during the design development phase of drawings after we get through the validation phase. They also presented information on options for pool sanitation, which are traditional chlorine injection versus salt chlorine injection, or salt chlorine generation, which people commonly refer to as a saltwater pool. Again, we'll prepare a choosing by advantages chart, and we'll include that in the validation report, and we'll need to make that decision when we get to the definitive design phase. It was understood that the Pasco's Memorial Pool is a salt chlorine generation system. So we'd like to get some input and feedback on how that's working for the city, and what your thoughts are on that, Jesse. And then lastly, to report, Ballard King is working on an update to the market analysis and the cost recovery models. That's the end of my report.
Very good.
I'm not sure whether this is,
Mr. Dietrich, if you could turn your mic on.
I'm not sure whether this is the proper time to bring up discussions on the report or questions.
I'd suggest, since the next thing on the agenda is that design by choice, I think if you hold it just a bit till Jordan presents the focus on that, we'd love to have discussion about it.
It's held.
Very good. Thank you, Marie. The Audit and Finance Committee does not have a report. So we go to item number 7, old business. Is there any old business we need to work through, Matt?
None that I'm aware.
Okay, good. New business. Choosing by advantage presentation. Jordan?
And as Jordan comes up here, presentation, I think Marie teed this up wonderfully. Jordan, of course, is with Boughton Construction, the construction firm, also with NAC, the design firm, and he is going to be presenting some information tonight. If you took a look at 2 pages, you saw a chart with some red, green, and blue over the weekend, and then also a list of options. And I think to put it also a little bit in context, since this group has been working so extensively and on some of those details, it was an important spot for this month to check in to make sure that we're headed down the right path on exploring those options. Because it's expected in April or possibly May, the final of this will be presented. So consider this a little bit of a dress rehearsal and also a discussion to make sure that we're going down the path that you as a board do want us to go on. With that, Jordan Teagues of Boughton Construction.
Thanks, Matt. Can you guys hear me okay? Good. All right. Before we get into the forms themselves, I want to just give you guys a little bit of background on where we're at today. So when we were hired on earlier in the year, we sat down with the team and established our conditions of satisfaction. One of those was to get it right. And so as a team, we decided the first thing we need to do is go do the tours like Matt did before. So we went over to Linwood and Snohomish, and you guys have gotten reports on how that went. We went, the Boughton and NAC team went. We went with Matt, Marie, and then the Winnahaw group as well. something important came from those tours, which was the indoor component of both of those facilities was larger than what was shown in the 2020 feasibility study by Ballard King for this project. So for reference, Linwood was about a 10,000 square foot natatorium, and Snohomish was a 14,000 square foot natatorium. And this project in the feasibility study, it was about an 8,000 square foot natatorium. So smaller indoor program compared to those two projects. As a result of those tours, the Design and Construction Committee, as a team, we decided to evaluate two options that had a larger indoor component compared to the original study to be more in line with the Linwood and Snohomish facilities. In addition to that, as we've talked about here, we've done a lot of community outreach, and a lot of the outreach, what we've been hearing and quantifying is that the indoor component's very exciting to the community, and I think that just validates that us evaluating these other two options is worth the time and effort. So with that little bit of background, I'll direct your attention to the 11 by or 8.5 by 11 sheet that should be behind the A3. And that has the options, and it's called the executive summary. So I'll explain this to you really quick. So option 1 at the top, like we've talked about, that is basically the original program as shown in the 2020 Ballard King feasibility study update. And that has a 4,000 square foot indoor pool, roughly about an 8,000 square foot natatorium that houses that, and then a 6,000 square foot outdoor pool. Option 2 basically flips option 1's program. So rather than a 4,000 square foot indoor pool, it has a 6,000 square foot indoor pool and a 4,000 outdoor pool. And similar amenities. And then option 3 is has a similar indoor component as option 2. However, it has a limited outdoor component to try to be more cost-effective approach to delivering a better indoor facility. Important to note, so as Marie just talked about, there's a lot of information that's yet to be defined in terms of the project budget related to land purchase decisions, bond pro forma, things of that nature that affects what we know what our actual budget's going to be for the project that we can commit to the actual design and construction of the facility. So we have some rough ideas of what that might be, but we don't have enough information to be definitive at this time. But the goal is to be soon. So questions so far on that document?
Can you give us the square footage of the indoor facility? So on the first one, it's 8,000.
A good rule of thumb is for the
Double
indoor pool, double it, and that's the size of the natatorium.
So we are at 12,000 for the middle option 2, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb is to double the square footage of the indoor pool.
Do we have numbers by any of these?
Not very definitive numbers at this time, no.
Hey, Jordan, can I just interject too? I think what the purpose of presenting this tool to you today is we want to make sure we're looking at the right things. So we know we're not asking you to determine good, better, best of these options today, although you may want to have some discussion about some of that, and that's fine. But what we're really looking for is if you look at those top columns, the column headings, these are the things that we're thinking we're going to judge these options by as we are able to fill this out with more information about these options. These are the things that we're thinking we're going to judge these by and place in good, better, or best categories. And we want to make sure that we're looking at the right things. If there is a column that should be here that's not here, we'd like to hear that because we can add it. And then that way when we come to you with analysis later, we'll have hit that point. So like we have a column for the capital cost, which is the numbers, right? That what does each of these options cost, right? So we know that we need a column for that. You'll want to know that, right? We have a column for the cost recovery, because we're going to try to analyze the relative cost recovery equation for these options, because we are told by the experts that these options will have different cost recovery percentages. So we have a column for that. We know you'll want to see that. Effect on schedule, effect on capacity, effect on our conditions of excellence, adaptability, wow factor, the do it right. So I just wanted to put that out there that what we're hoping to get from you at this moment is maybe a reaction to, hey, I think you're missing this, right? Environmental factors or whatever you might think needs to be added to this in order to make a decision on these options later on.
Can I ask just a kind of so I get a perspective, how many square foot is Memorial Pool?
I don't know the answer to that.
I can get you the answer. I don't know what it is because we have the bump out in it for the dive tank, so I can get that.
Well,
total
give me
here
the
shortly.
square without the dive tank.
I'll get it to you as we're presenting.
It's 100 meters, right? 50 meters.
50.
50 meters.
That I can answer. If you give me a second, I can get you the answer while he's continuing the presentation. Yep.
Okay, if I'm getting the direction that you're asking for, when we leave here tonight, you're gonna have more of a firm direction on what this board is wanting to achieve.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, really all we came here today to ask about was really two things. Number one, and if you're looking at the A3 on the left-hand side, those are the program options kind of listed out the same as the first sheet. Are we evaluating the correct 3 programs, or do we need to tweak any of them or anything like that?
I don't know where to throw this on the table, but one of our members last month indicated that in the advisory group, we needed a mother. Well, we didn't get one appointed on this path. And I will say that I understand why she made that statement. Because I did not feed this to my daughter, 52, 3, my granddaughter, and she fed it to my granddaughter, age 22. She read through the amenities and what was there and came back with a specific point, looking at it from a mother's standpoint, watching after kids, what she did to take her children to a park someplace and what was available and what wasn't and what meant to her. And I won't say it was shocking, but it was an awakening that the outdoor, she described the outdoor as nobody wants to be there. Okay, first of all, the outdoor is going to be open 3, maybe 4 months a year, and that's pretty much it. Then nobody's going to be really out there at 105 degrees or 95 degrees. And we get a lot of wind here, and they're not necessarily going to want to be there at that point in time. The indoor pool, or the indoor segment of this, was very inviting to both of them in saying that that's year-round, and the elderly are doing a lot of aerobics in the morning for health in there, which they wouldn't be doing in the wintertime or different off-season on the outside pool. And so their bottom line was that indoor, it shows more universal acceptance moving through the 12 months that we have available for us out here. And then I said, well, there's a phase 2. Well, in phase 2, maybe we could look at something, or we can look at something smaller or different on there. But they focused on indoor facility for 12 months of the year of doing it. Now, cost and all that sort of stuff comes into play at that point in time. And, but I was taking back, looking at from a male standpoint, and nice job in pointing that out to me, because I'm not around females to get information, but I asked for information, and they did not know what my thinking was anywhere along the line. So this was a Joe person, a Mrs. Joe person on the street coming back with feedback, and it was indoor on both of them from 52 to 22.
Thank you, Leonard. You make my points very beautifully.
I had to swallow hard on that.
And if I can interrupt, so Pasco swimming pool, just the pool without the dive tank is 9,000 square feet, and with the dive tank adds 1,200 for a total of 10,200 square feet, approximately. If you're with the Olympics, we'll remeasure. So.
Jordan, can you talk a little bit about the decision to move from the indoor and the outdoor to only the indoor? What were some of the pros and cons?
Yes,
And did
sure.
that come from your visit really over on the west side, or has it been developing for a while?
It kind of came from a way to build a program that was favored the indoor component, and also was just another option that might be more cost effective from a capital standpoint than option two. Option two most likely is going to be the most expensive option, but we don't know for sure yet until we go through the whole exercise and provide some numbers behind it. So it was just another way to get another option out there to evaluate.
So I'll add to that a little bit too. You know, both Linwood and Snohomish are indoor only facilities, and they were both very busy and very heavily used. And Pasco is growing exponentially every year, and so is the Tri-Cities. And my concern is that if we stick with the original model for the small indoor and larger outdoor, we will outgrow that indoor facility quicker than you can say swim.
Hey, did you talk to my daughter? Because those were
No.
almost her words exactly.
No, it's very obvious if you spend any time thinking about it. In my view, it's something that we really need to consider. You know, and there are many outdoor pools. We have 3 rivers. I don't think that the Tri-Cities is hurting for a place to jump in the water in the summertime. But what we don't have is any place indoors.
Echo.
I just want to add that it was, that option 3 was really a very budget driven decision, because we know that flipping that program, it added cost, right? And we're still working on exact numbers, so we don't want to cloud things with the numbers right now, but it adds cost. So our concept was, what if you had to make that decision and you wanted the bigger indoor? If you go to get the bigger indoor and you reduce the outdoor component in order to afford the bigger indoor, the concept there is that outdoor is easier to grow. And that's to Marie's point, that indoor facility is hard to expand. You can expand the outdoor easy, right? So if you spend the money to get the larger indoor up front, then theoretically it's easier in phase 2 or whatever to expand outdoor amenities.
And I just also supplement too, that I think you're seeing a convergence of, for lack of a better term, we've been getting our arms around the concept, and the specifics of the details are becoming much more clear in focus, but they're not totally in focus yet. I think in the next month or two, you're going to see specifics of which options, the exact details of the amenities, including design ideas of those things, and then also cost. And probably not going to be surprised that to do option 2 or option 3 might be more than option 1. And at the same time, we're also as we're going through the budgeting and bonding process, we're also getting numbers specifically what we can be able to afford. So there is some coordination going on between the design build team and the funding team to make sure that we're coming to a point that you're going to get the specific details. But it was critically important to make sure that we're not going off in some different direction and check in with you this month. And I'm hearing from, I'm also excited to hear from Leonard that you're hearing what we've been hearing in the community in the outreach sessions, that indoor facility is more important to the community at large. And it is also more challenging, going to be more challenging economically, but under the auspices of doing it right, doing it the first time, I think we're driving to where we're going to be able to give you fair choices and options to be able to make a decision. We're just not quite there this month and wanted to make sure that our process for getting that information to you is going to be sound.
Yeah, so I'm going to step in and help Jordan out here. What he's asking us to do right now is to look at this color chart and verify that we will evaluate these three options by these criteria. So that's what we need to validate today.
And specifically, it's the chart page that has green, yellow, and green, or excuse me, red, yellow, and green on the right, and has column headings like conditions of excellence, non-summer capacity, etc. Those column headings is really the crux of what we're trying to present to you tonight, to make sure those are the things. If you have those filled in, will you be able, as a board, along with financial information, be able to make a decision of which option to pick in April or May? Is that a fair summary?
Yeah.
Jordan?
Yes, it is. And I can walk through this document now if you guys are ready for that. Okay, so this is our Choosing by Advantages template. It's a tool of the design build process. On the left, we've got the three options listed out. It's almost the exact same as the first sheet that we were looking at. So it's got options 1, 2, and 3 down the left-hand margin. And then across the column headers there, we've got 9 evaluation criteria that the committee deemed most important and recommended us look at in terms of an evaluation. Eventually, jumping ahead a little bit, but hopefully by next month's board meeting, we can come back and present this document to you guys fully filled out, and it would have the good, better, or best for each option in the smaller cells there. And you can clearly kind of see where one's going to fall as maybe the best option, or maybe 2 of them are worth continuing to pursue. Hopefully by that board meeting, so in a month from now, hopefully we can start maybe narrowing down if there's an option that doesn't make any more sense, then maybe it's worth making the decision, or you guys can make that decision to have us not look at it any longer. Does that kind of make sense? So I can walk through the different evaluation criteria if you're ready for that. Like Heath talked about on the far right, we'll start with those two because those are the 2 very important ones. You got capital cost, which we're working to determine for each 3 options. And then the operations cost recovery, which our business consultant Ballard King is also working on. So we're hoping by next board meeting, those nut values will be filled in there and be ranked in a good, better, best format. Moving towards the left there, you have construction schedule. So the design and construction team will put together construction schedules, kind of a high level conceptual schedule for each of the 3 options, just to evaluate if anything's different between those 3 options. The next one would be social capacity. So this is similar to just more like open spaces for people to meet inside the facility and more chances for connection. So that would be more related to things like the party rooms, the concession areas, things that are non-aquatic amenities in the facility. So we would like to try to rank those different 3 options in a good, better, best format from that perspective. Of course, you have summer capacity and non-summer capacity. That's really just means, what is your overall facility capacity in the summertime versus in the non-peak or non-summertime. And then we have the 3 conditions of excellence that we deemed were the 3 most important to evaluate for this particular exercise, which is adaptability, wow factor, and doing it right. So that's 3 of the 5, but those are the 3 that we deemed most important. So really what I came here today was to ask is, number 1, are the 3 options the correct options to be evaluating? And then number 2, are there any more evaluation criteria that you as a board deem necessary for us to, over the next month, analyze?
pretty big ask, Jordan, but does anybody have anything else to add or subtract?
Tell me what you mean by the first three columns. I mean, I get the gist of them, but what do you mean by adaptability? What are you looking for?
So, for example, conditions of
doesn't-
excellence, adaptability. So, we would be evaluating things like how many different amenities can we fit in the outdoor pool versus the indoor pool for option one, and then we would
Okay.
try to look at it at the same lens for option 2 and 3. Do any of those, as they compare to each other, the options lend themselves better to adaptability? And we would try to rank them in a good, better, best format. So, like as an example, we'll just say option 1 is the best in terms of adaptability. Option 2 is better, and option 3 is only good.
Okay.
That would mean option 1 for that category is a better option.
Could also be the ability to adapt the facility for changing tastes and
Right.
activities, right?
And events.
In the future, right?
So we could change any of these to be more specific if they need to be like that, or add more to evaluate it from a different perspective. That's definitely part of the process.
I get wow factor. Where are you going with do it right? Just
I think do it
the
right really goes.
public's perception when they walk through the door, is that?
I think do it right really lends to what we were talking about with community outreach, and what we're hearing is that indoor is definitely exciting and favored by a lot of the community. And something that Heath just brought up too, indoor, it's a lot harder to build a bigger indoor facility later versus now. So it's worth at least taking the time to evaluate if that's a smart idea now or not.
The way I kind of look at what we're asking is, if we come back with this all filled out next time and we say, okay, we're ready for you to help make a decision, or at least narrow a decision, right? What's the thing that's not on here that's going to make you say, well, I can't possibly make a decision on this without knowing this, right? And is it missing from this? Because we want to get it on there. If you can't possibly make a decision about these options without knowing the relative effect on traffic, then we need to add it on here, right? If you can't possibly make a decision without knowing the environmental impact of each option, then we need to add it on here, right? So that's the way I would phrase what we're really looking for is do we have the things on here that allow you to make a decision, or are the things that you need us to put on here in order to make a decision?
So choosing by advantages, though, it must be some sort of a construction industry common practice.
It is, yeah. It's
Okay.
part of the Design Build Institute's
So these-
best practices for determining any part of a construction project you need to determine. You can apply it to really anything you want, but we started here.
So these column headings are not really just unique to us, they're,
Oh no, these are definitely unique to this project, yes.
say that again,
These
Jordan?
are definitely unique to this project,
Okay.
the evaluation criteria, yeah.
Or said another way too, this group has been working for the past several months, and we think that this answers the mail, but we really wanted to do a check-in with you all tonight. And if the answer is you're not seeing anything, if nothing's jumping out, that's great. But we thought this was a critical piece to check in with you to make sure.
And I appreciate that, the choosing by advantages, and also the discussion about the options. Letting us be a part of that is good for us to have that knowledge when we're out and about around town.
Absolutely.
And I would put out there too that if you think of something after this meeting, like get a hold of Matt, get a hold of me, say, hey, I thought of this. I think we're going to need to know this, so that we can have an opportunity to try to find those answers for you, because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, we're not looking for a motion to accept it tonight, but take an additional look at it. If you do think of anything else, we have a little bit of time, but we have a meeting this Friday, and then obviously the following Friday. But the hope and plan is to have all that information filled out and in detail be able to give you a choice between option 1, 2, and 3 in the coming month.
Any other questions on it?
I'm good.
Okay,
Rest of you board members, everybody? Okay,
thank you.
just a minute. Caroline, did you have?
Okay, so options 1 and 2 have a total of 10,000 square feet of pool, indoor and outdoor. And option 3 has only 6,000 square feet of indoor pool. Is it just cost that makes the smaller 6,000 square feet of indoor pool in option 3 equivalent to 10,000 feet of both indoor and outdoor?
Good question. So I'll point you to, there's a note at the bottom of that option, and I should have explained that better earlier, but we did realize when we presented option 3 originally that we needed to have something outdoor. And so we did contemplate an outdoor aquatic amenity, and that's not even defined in here yet, but there's some examples there of what that could be. So for example, it says a double run out slide would be outdoors, or there would be a large family hot tub outdoors, or
Okay.
something similar to that. And it wouldn't be maybe just a pool, but it could be some sort of aquatic amenity.
The double
Outdoor.
run-out slide, don't they have to land in water? Doesn't there have to be pool for that to work?
For a run out slide, it's basically maybe like a 20-foot section, and it's got gutters. It's got gutters, and the slide just goes flat across basically the top of the concrete
Oh, so it's
to
a
allow you
flat
to
slide
slow down,
instead of a
and then you
down
can just
slide?
climb out. Correct. That
No,
would,
you slide down the slide, but at the bottom, instead of dropping into a pool, it runs out on a flat.
Oh.
That's correct.
On the flat, you come to rest and then you stand up and step out of the slide.
Okay.
does that answer your question for option 3?
Yeah, 'cause I didn't know what you meant by that.
Very good. So go ahead, Matt. Something you want to add?
I know that you'd looked at it, Mr. Morissette, too, and on the left-hand column and had a thing to do, a kind of a slice and dice it in some different ways. Is that something you wanted to share?
Well, yes. For me, over the years, whenever there's something that is complicated that needs to be looked at, and I consider this pretty complicated, because if we make a decision on the indoor and the outdoor, it seems like the rest falls into place pretty easily. That's my impression. So I pass this out to the board that when you look at things horizontally, sometimes it's good to take a latitude look at things. And you can correct this, what I put together, to help myself, because this is very comprehensive. So I just want to pass this out to the board. It's just something that if it has any value, great. If it doesn't have any value, fine also. But if you pass one down to Spence. Because again, to me, if we make a decision on the indoor or the outdoor, again, the rest will seem like it's going to fall into place. So, and then give this to you guys.
Yeah, and we'll get a copy to the clerk so that it's also part of the record. And if you got a couple extra copies, give it a copy to Jordan, and I think probably also Heath would be a good person.
So I offer that really only as a working tool, if it's something you would like to put into your gaining a little bit more experience and knowledge of what we're trying to get accomplished here. I was a little bit concerned back in March of 2020, we had made a decision about what we wanted this facility to look like, the board did. And I took a look at it, and I'm not saying we have to do things, in concrete for what we decided back then. But I'm glad to hear that we're doing a good job of getting more feedback. And it's good to hear that, heard from the moms, but maybe we need to hear from a few more moms out there. So, anyway, that's my 2 bits.
I'm going to just taking a look at this, Mr. Morissette. I'm fairly confident that the way you've presented this, probably if the board treats this as a 3rd page in the preliminary information, I don't think anything here is going to be in conflict with the information that we're planning to present later on. It's just kind of an alternative way to view this information. I definitely appreciate you presenting it in a different way, because we all learn and receive information differently. So
Yes.
this has the Mark's example of an accountant on it, I can see.
So it's in balance, Jordan.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, just looking at it real quick, if we can try to make a way to incorporate it into this template, we will. So
Okay,
it's
thank
all
you.
presented together.
Yeah. You know, ultimately, we answer back to the public,
That's right.
and we want to make sure that we're in the know to help them understand what they're getting. And then through that process, if there's something we learn from the public, we got to get that back to you folks. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Thanks a lot.
So Mark, to clarify, this just lays out all of the different criteria and then checks the box whether or not the options meets that criteria?
No, what I did was I took this and just regrouped it into, so you'll see that this shows up in all three of them. So I was trying to draw the contrast between the three options, and specifically, you know, back in our meeting minutes from the last meeting, there was a mention of going to the indoor option. And I was a little concerned about that, how this, how phase one and phase two would come together if we just go to the indoor option. And then also hearing that, Jordan, when you folks went over to the west side, I'm not exactly convinced that indoor on the west side means we have to be indoor on the east side. I'm not exactly convinced of that, but I get it. I mean, it's a different climate. It's just a whole different system over there. But hearing the interest of what it sounds like is going to be the indoor option, the heat, the wind, and those things, and turning this into a year-round facility, which will help with the cost recovery, that those things make good sense.
And actually, what was described in our conversation was that for outdoor, if you just look at outdoor facilities, there are a lot of options, whether it's a neighbor's pool or whether it's other pools in other cities, that clientele would be able to find a place to be when they wanted to be. And this is to deal with the year-round and how it would fill in with the population that's here, because we still have the river, and people will get there in the summertime, and there are pools around. Yeah. Anyway, it was interesting to hear the conversation.
Go ahead, Caroline.
A lot of people are billing the Tri-Cities as a good place to retire. So I think taking the needs of seniors into consideration is a valid viewpoint.
I totally get the idea of building as big an indoor facility, because it would be super expensive down the road to expand. And I think you put as much into that facility as we can afford. I still have a little bit of trouble not having much outside. If we just have a splash pad outside, I think that I just have a tough time seeing that. But I get it. And I think that we do need to build as big an indoor facility, because it will be more expensive. But I'm hoping that if we find cost savings, we can put it into some sort of outdoor amenities.
So Spence, I reacted the same way. And then when I was putting this chart together, Jordan mentioned this, and I think it becomes very important down here. Is this your writing then, Jordan? So when I say you wrote it, is that accurate?
Well, yes, but
Okay.
it's really the brainchild of the
Sure,
entire
I get it,
committee
but at least
as we meet.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to who
Yeah.
was doing the legwork in front of the computer. So you write here, this is under option 3, some outdoor amenities such as a double run-out slide or a large family hot tub or similar amenity. So my reaction to that was, and I had to Google what a double run-out slide was. And there is an opportunity here with this option 3 and what was written here, that actually, like the hot tub, the family hot tub, that those things become the marketing side for the indoor. So the hot tub is something that draws attention to the holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, where you're coming to something that you can be outside in the hot tub, which is really going to bring attention to bringing people inside. So I saw option 3 with the amenity, the outside amenity, more as a marketing tool than really not having some outside amenities. That's my.
Yeah, I see, when I was looking at outside amenities, I keep seeing this feature on television advertising when it's 100 degrees and all these little kids are running around and there's water squirting up and down and all around. I don't know what you call those things, but a splash park or something like that. I mean, I just seen a lot of happiness there. And then when it becomes after Memorial Day, you shut the switch off and it's over with at that point in time. So that's what I seen as far as the amenities. This little slide run out thing is interesting. It sounds fun. But I see families bringing them and they're just, maybe it costs $1 to go into the inside and maybe it costs 50 cents to just do the splash round. So there's an economic advantage to that, but I could see 50 kids out there running around in it. Yeah. And that's just input and thought.
And that should hopefully be part of the operations cost recovery that Ballard King's going to do on all 3 of these options and provide that input to us.
So will this help then with Ballard King? They're going to be the folks that are going to do the cost recovery study for?
Yes.
So they are probably looking for some focus also then.
Yeah, I think it's
Or
fair to say.
narrowing down.
Ballard King has been asking for more certainty, and we've been driving to that, and so they're getting much more specific. It's been general in the past, and I think you're getting more specific. And then again, want to emphasize the point. All of this, we've been having a lot of talk about those details, but for the purposes of tonight, we really wanted to make sure and focus on the evaluation criteria.
Sure.
Do absolutely expect the next iteration of this to have lots of details about which specific amenities, pictures, and all of that. And it is going to make it tough, but we wanted to make sure the underlying principle of helping to evaluate as much apples to apples as possible. We wanted to emphasize the process for this.
Regarding the 300,000 then for the additional features, then will Ballard King take a look at the 300,000 and what we can buy in amenities for the 300,000?
It'll have more to do with WTI, which is the
Okay.
pool designer, and
Okay.
they would say, for that program, we would suggest adding this, that, and the other thing. So, like an example, like an AquaZip, it's like a little pool mount side of the pool mounted zip line. Fairly easy feature to purchase and install. So things like that would fall under that bucket.
Another comment that was made was in the restroom area and how we were going to deal with that. They thought the numbers was too small as far as the total numbers, but a suggestion was maybe go look at what CBC did on their expansion, because it appears to be quite functionable in what they chose to put out at their athletic facility.
I see Jordan taking a note, and also that was, I think, discussion with Linwood and Snohomish as well, since they're aquatics facilities. Any other thoughts, Jordan, what he just shared?
Yeah, so one thing that we will do through the design process, once we have a program narrowed down, and this is into the future a little ways, once we can determine what the actual pool capacities are for the indoor and the outdoor, that really drives a lot of like locker type amenities, because you're basing it off of total capacity or max capacity of the facility. So
Yeah,
we'll
like I
get
say,
to
I,
that.
I would suggest you just, maybe make a phone call and take a trip out there to CBC and what they did, and somewhere between the sky and the bottom, you can figure something out.
Yeah, noted. We've got CBC and Memorial Pool on the list to go talk to. So, thanks for suggesting that.
Well, Jordan, looks like you've exceeded your 25 minutes.
That's good.
That's
It's a good discussion. Thank you.
Anybody have any final questions, comments for Jordan? If not, so just as our grading sheet here, we're supposed to turn that back in, or this is how
No,
do we
just
bring conclusion to this?
the conclusion of this is I'm hearing that what we have are good evaluation criteria. However, if you go home tonight and think about something, send me an email, send Heath or Jordan an email, and we'll make sure and include those. We have a little bit of time, but I'm not hearing any concern with the process, the evaluation criteria that we've presented tonight. And no action, specific action. Just wanted to check in and make sure we weren't going down the wrong path.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under new business, the governance models discussions. Gillette and Watkins.
And if you don't mind, I'll lead this out and do some introductions to it. So previous month, I gave you a pros and cons list of different governance models. And specifically, we did get a chance to go talk with Kennewick Public Facilities District about their model. They, of course, are on a model that the discussion was very interesting in that the Kennewick PFD 20-some years ago and enacted a board to build a convention center that had not existed yet with a little bit of a different funding source. And I think it's fair to say that City of Kennewick did a very deliberate model to where their public facilities district members were more exclusively from the business community in certain segments that said they ended up choosing a model that they, the board, and a third-party management company that they chose would be the two entities that would really run things. That is different, I think, than Pasco Public Facilities District. In the past 20 years, it has been a caretaker organization that the board has certainly been involved, but it's also relied heavily on the city of Pasco to take care of the money. And then now as we do the transition, the question that comes up, when you do the Aquatics facility, I believe there, for lack of a better summary, there are three basic models to go with. And that is a model that goes like Kennewick Public Facilities District that partners heavily with a third-party for-profit management company, or do you go a traditional municipal model where you all go start to hire public employees, including lifeguards? And by the way, through all of this, the aquatics facility, the huge part of this for labor is going to be lifeguards. And then, of course, you're going to have management and operations. Or is there a third option where you do a municipal model, but you also rely heavily on Pasco and their expertise to do a lot of those services? So tonight I wanted to talk specifically about the Kennewick model, and Spence going with me. We had a nice discussion with Corey Pearson, the director of it, the equivalent of me, but also that operation's been going on for 20 years. And also Calvin Dudney, who has been on the board, I think, since the beginning, in Spence. So we had a board member from each and an executive director for each. I think Kennewick did an excellent job at sharing the pros and cons, warts and all, the things that they've done really well, the things that have been challenges, and that sort of thing. And I wanted to actually I've been so close to it, I wanted to give Spence actually an opportunity to share what his thoughts were on the process, and if he's got an opinion on which way we might want to go as a model. Mr. Gillette.
As Matt mentioned, Kennewick has a little different group running their organization, but they made a decision early on to go with a third party to run the facility, and they are very happy with that decision, and they have a close working relationship with the company that runs their facility. One of the things they mentioned is that whoever you pick, if you do go with a third party, whoever is your third party manager they have to be willing to do just about anything and everything in that facility. Meaning, helping change a valve, doing everything that may be necessary to keep the facility. In our facility, it'd be anything from finding trained lifeguards to making sure the chemicals are good in the pool. But they are pleased with their decision to have a third party. They have kind of an arm's length agreement with the city of Kennewick. And I think that that's a decision we're going to have to make. And I'm not so sure that their setup isn't we'll have to see if that would fit us, but I think it's probably a pretty good model for us. But then again, we're going to have to make that decision as a group.
I would also augment too that I think the convention market, there are probably more third-party management firms in that space to provide. I've done a little bit of looking. I've certainly Googled a bit, and there are a couple out there. They tend to be more for commercial operations. I haven't found any that have been for municipal organizations such as this. There seems to be a lot more the convention management organizations. And in fact, Corey mentioned that their company had dabbled, I believe, in whether or not to do aquatics and then got out of it. So he didn't have a specific, that particular company wasn't going to be an option for us. I also note too that ever since I've started, I've had people come out of the woodwork to make sure and let us know that they have a design firm or a construction firm. I haven't had anybody come out and say, hey, we manage aquatics facilities. So I'm not sure that, before I go down that path, I just let you know that I have not found a lot yet on that model specifically for aquatics facilities.
Yeah, my thought on that is the Kennewick facility is a much more different animal than what is even the track or the HAPO Center is a much more different animal than what this is. This is a very specific, falls into, I guess I'll cut to the chase. It falls more into the municipal operation than what it does contracting out, because he's not going to be looking for, if there's a third contractor out there, how are they going to build revenue? They're going to build revenue through pricing and fixtures. The city's going to build revenue in several different ways. Maybe they got to tap into it, but I don't see anybody wanting to raise their hand to run a swimming pool. I see a swimming pool.
Yes, Jesse, please talk on behalf of the Parks and Rec's reaction to this conversation.
So I think I've kind of, and you're new in my position, but I've taken a bit different approach with our Parks and Recreation Department that I think our new mission or my vision is to provide opportunities for the community that are accessible, inclusive, and affordable. And I think that's one of these things that this aquatic center was initially designed for. I think the pull to the communities was to have a center that those in the community could attend it, because those that are attending this facility likely aren't attending any of the membership available facilities or traveling to outside of the area facilities like Silverwood or some of those other things. So for me and a lot of people I talk to, including city manager's office, and I'm going to pull a council member right along with me here, is I think that operating the facility would be an ideal that we're open to and would like to be considered to do. And I've kind of developed some talking points, and I wasn't sure if today's the day, but I also know that I don't know if we can take 2 or 3 more months for you to decide this model, because eventually you're going to have to come up with a business plan to get your bonding plan. So I think I'll throw my sense in now. We can come back and revisit it, or you can ask questions, or we can follow up. But essentially, I think the city, that offers stability. We're a long-term operating partner. We're likely to be around in 10 years, 20 years, and 50 years versus multiple different contractors. So we have that. We do have a community focus. I'm here because I care about the community, and a lot of staff you'll find care about supporting community, have a strong connection, they serve, and are dedicated to that. I think we're pretty good with accountability. We'd be accountable to, of course, both council, accountable to the PFD board, which also kind of ensures some public transparency and oversight. So if the community doesn't feel that we're running it right, I can assure you they're going to let us know, because they do let us know on other things. I think we have economy of scale, as Mr. Dietrich mentions. You know, we're experienced in finance management, human resources, technology, facility ground support. We already run a mini aquatic center as it is with our full-size pool, slides, and things like that. We're familiar with not just maintaining those chemicals, but we're the ones that work on those heat exchangers and the saltwater chlorinators and repairing the slides and things like that. And I have the only certified lifeguard trainer. So do you really want to compete against me? So just keep that in mind. But we also have, you know, government adherence, even though you're going to hire a third-party contractor, and we do this with Sun Willows as a good example of Corsco. Those companies still have to adhere to the government procurement model, record keeping, and things like that. So, and those are the areas you kind of can get into risk, but I'm hoping Darcy's shaking her head yes now. Shake, Darcy. But essentially we know how to do that, or we should know how to do it, you know. I think cost efficiency, we're basically going to set the rates to cover operating costs and the cost recovery model. You know, our goal isn't going to be profit. Recreation for sure, Darcy's going to shake her head, doesn't operate for profit. We operate to provide those communities the opportunity. Generally, that's with the money that's left after fire and police and planning and things like that, but that's what we do best. And again, the other thing we're good at, sponsorships. I think if the city's running it, we're more likely to find sponsors that are willing to sponsor programs, whether those are free swim lessons or open swim nights. We have businesses that do that now for Memorial Pool. So our goal would be to expand those services with our sponsorship opportunities. Partnerships, same way. I mean, we have the ability to partner with things like Boys and Girls Club, Head Start, and the school districts to make sure that those students that most likely need to attend this facility have the ability to attend that. And then again, collaboration. I don't know if you're aware, but we have, council has approved the purchase of a air dome cover for Memorial Pool. So we will have a year-round pool facility as well of an Olympic-sized pool, basically. And instead of competing, I think those are better to collaborate and maybe even draw in bigger swim events where those are split between the two. Or as you move to more of an indoor model, that allows us to also operate that outdoor pool model for those that want that, or again, to do those outdoor swim meets. So, and I think those three things there are, you know, what combined into, you know, providing those opportunities for community. I think you're more likely to see businesses and partnerships want to partner with the city at a nonprofit rate, knowing that they're not sponsoring or donating money to somebody that's in for profit to offset their rate potential. So that's it. I guess you want me to get a contract ready, or you got some questions?
Well, before we answer that question, so Spence, did they, sorry, you got your light on there, and Leonard is ready to go. I'll ask this question real quick. So over there, how frequently do they go out to rebid this management?
I don't know what the length of their contract is. I'll tell you, it's good to hear this, Jessica. I have not heard that from the city to this point. I think that collaborating on this facility makes a lot of sense because the city is not going to run the facility in order to make a big profit, whereas a management company would. I think that it makes a lot of sense if the city is willing. I'm just not trying, you know, I was afraid to, you know, ask the city if they come in and take it over, because as we've discussed for 20 years, this facility we were going to, you know, get other amenities besides the aquatic center, you know, and to put that all on the plate of the city, we didn't know that the city really was willing to do that.
I think we're, you know, I'm speaking from Parks and Rec director level, and I know I just pulled Councilman Blaisdell along with me, but.
Oh, I have some comments too, so.
Yeah. But I think it is something that city council does have to approve, because it is an additional operating taxing thing. So it is something that we would have to propose, or that, you know, your board is going to have to propose to the city council for approval, because it is us taking on more. But, and so basically be expanding the current ILA we have to identify and understand how that's going to operate. Because the city also would be operating under the tax jurisdiction as to not lose money operating that as well. I think that's, you know, it's supposed to be self-supporting or as close as possible. So I think that's what council would want to ensure. I want to ensure we have a model or understanding too, because I for sure don't want us to build this facility and then say, hey, we can't do maintenance on it, or we can't staff it, because that ruins that whole idea as well. So unfortunately, I don't get the only vote in that, but I obviously have the confidence to carry it forward. If we, you know, if I can get everybody to work together, that would be my goal. But let me turn over the microphone.
I agree with him 100%, but I do think there is revenue potential once we build the lap, being able to have competitions, because that will bring in more tax dollars, more hotel tax. That component of it is huge. Running a hotel, I live for those weekends. So I don't think that the first phase will have profit. The second phase, I believe, if we end up building that competition pool, that alone will bring more dollars to the city.
I'm going to make a request here. What I would like, if the board would be amenable to it, could we set up an additional committee, including specifically Mr. Gillette, certainly and one other board member, maybe Mr. Dietrich, and I know he's remote, but if we could do it so he calls in or does something like that. Jesse, myself, and then potentially our liaison to talk about what might be the scenario for a relationship between the PFD and the city specifically, and also chase to ground to an extent the third-party management model and bring back to the board a recommendation. That's what would be my suggestion.
Yeah, my concern is that a third party isn't going to be favorable to this operation. I know in the past 20 years we've talked about doing more and more, but that seems to not make as much sense as it did back then. And I think I've always approached this aquatic center as a social issue. And it doesn't fit any other mold except for you're providing entertainment for the populace within the city of Pasco and the region, whoever wants to come in there. So, I mean, my take on it as a third party is not in discussion. The in discussion would be with the city on whether or not they are capable, and I hear that they are, and willing to take the management of this facility. And if it goes down the road 20 years and someone wants to change it, well, so be it. But I think to start out with, they have the background, they have the infrastructure to manage this facility better than us trying to go out and find a third party.
Let me back up, Mr. Morrison. The suggestion would still be a committee, but go down the model of PFD and the city in a combination.
Well, I don't know if we necessarily need to form another committee. Can't we just do this through the Audit and Finance Committee?
You certainly could, and then I would ask the two primary members of the Audit Finance Committee, which are you and Ms. Bowdish, and Spence is also a back of that. If you three would coordinate so that no more than it would have to be two members be involved in it.
Well, this committee that you're talking about would be comprised of how many committee members?
Once again, it could only be two members. It could be two different members if you wanted. The Audit and Finance Committee would be just fine. I just would.
Well, we can work that through and get things. And then if we need to, we'll get it straightened out.
Well, and I'm just asking, since this is a public meeting, if I can get the idea of two members from the Audit and Finance Committee, Jesse, myself, and liaison with the city of Pasco to talk about this in the coming weeks. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Sure. I think so.
Okay.
And then if we'll check the dates, and if we can make the meeting, great. If we can't, we have our alternate and we can make it fit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, and then for me, it's still very important, the consistency of the management of this thing. And gosh, going out to rebid this, however that works. Okay, then the next item on the agenda, the executive director report.
I do have one item listed, but wanted to follow it up with a couple more items since we've talked about today. Just to let you know, I have received one additional application since we talked about ambassador applications. Ms. Gillespie encouraged a community member, so I do have I think a one qualified additional application. I don't know if that meets the threshold that the board wants to reconsider changing the makeup of the board at this point. I would suggest not unless I get more applications, but I wanted to do an update on that. Any questions on that? Hearing none, then I would let you also know that just found out today that tomorrow is the exit interview with the state auditor's office. I think you've got an invitation if you'd like to participate virtually. I'll be attending certainly along with Pasco finance folks. That I don't think we're anticipating any significant issues.
No, the only issue we do run into sometimes is if we have a quorum, that's a problem.
Okay. So unless three of you want to attend that, I'm going to guess that maybe one or two at most. So if I do see more than three members who want to be part of that tomorrow, let me know. Also to let you know too, and it was kind of related to the conversation about the chart and the work being done in the design and construction, the survey process that we've been doing in the public outreach, and I can't remember the exact count, call it 8, 9, or maybe 10 times I've reached out with the boards, and then also there's been an online survey. Our intention is actually to close that out this Friday, to where we are conclusion of making sure of which amenities the public might want and expect a report on that also next month. That will not conclude public outreach, but it'll change from the phase of what you want to, here's what we've heard you say and we're planning to incorporate in the facility. And then there'll be more public outreach in that process. So it'll be another phase of that. And I think, given the length of the meeting, we also need to do an executive session. I'll consider that the bulk of my report tonight, unless there are any other questions.
So what you're going to do is narrow the scope of the public input.
Exactly. You've gotten a preview of the sticker exercise, and you know which the top amenities are. There is some narrative that I think we've also just figured out. Certainly what people have told us, but also the audience that's been telling us. For example, we went out to Tierra Vida, and while there was not a large turnout of people, the focus group that was there, I think we were particularly interested in what that neighborhood would share, as opposed to the 100+ people that I got soccer moms and dads, or excuse me, basketball moms and dads on a Saturday morning. So I think we're gonna want to try and do our best to present this information as broadly the city. And also I reached out and went over to the senior center, for example, and I got a very small number of folks actually go through an exercise, but they brought up some good comments. So I combined that also with the narrative details from the survey results where people could type in free responses. Brooke from NAC will be compiling that information, and we'll be sharing that with you and the public in the coming weeks.
I don't think I could possibly add anything. Marie covered a lot of things. Jordan covered some stuff. It's all been covered pretty well as far as an update on where the project is. So I'm going to go for brevity. There is a monthly report that is attached to your board packet. That's from us. We're going to refine that and expand that as things heat up with the project. And in the future, it will probably contain some financial analysis as well as we get more contract in place with the design build team. And we'll work with Matt and Darcy on what that needs to look like, and so that we match up with the other financial stuff that you have to look at, so that we're not just adding confusion, but adding a different piece instead. And then, we always identify in our reports challenges and solutions, and the biggest challenge right now is the property. And I know you're going to have an executive session to talk about that, but I'll just put that out there that's the biggest obstacle right now facing this project in our assessment is that property issue. Any questions for me?
No
Just-
lights are on. Matt has a question.
Well, and just to augment what Heath said, you got a copy of the report that I believe Winnaha is planning to share that on a monthly basis or so in your packets, so you see more of that coming. And Heath also hit on the point too. The challenge of property is affecting our process because the validation phase of the project has been slated to be complete by April. As a practical matter, we're not going to have property and be able to get that by April. It's hopeful that as we work through it, we're not only maybe going to slip to May, but I wanted to give you a heads up that if our property challenge continues, that is going to become a thing, and that we're going to probably have to have a discussion about how we continue on with our design and management team. Not there yet to say emergency, but there is a concern there, and so I just want to make sure that's a fair thing to give a heads up for.
Yeah, and I guess in this public portion of the meeting, it's all public meeting, but before the executive session, I think it's also fair to say that it's not just, obviously you can't design very far without knowing where the thing sits and what property it goes on. But it's not just that, it's all the cost implications with the different property options, right? Because the development costs that come along with some of the property options are extraordinarily high, and that's affecting the budget for construction. Because if you got a certain amount of money and you're going to spend a bunch of it on development costs, then the program is smaller. And so that's affecting our validation period. To be able to validate these options, we need to understand what the development costs are going to be, because that could swing our construction budget by millions of dollars. So.
Okay, so then we're ready to go into executive, or Matt, your light is on again. Thank you.
Yes, and our attorney is not present this evening, so I did talk with legal counsel, and he was okay with proceeding to executive session, and without objection, I'd take us into executive session. The board will meet in executive session under RCW 42.30.110, specifically section 1B, for 30 minutes as is related to consideration of site selection or acquisition of real estate purchase or lease, if likelihood that disclosure would increase price. And besides the board attending, I would be attending. Also Heath Gardner and Jake Hartwig of Winnaha would be also included. And if my suggestion, since you have gone an hour and a half, is to take a 5-minute break and then do the executive session. So if it is 5:28 now, to do an executive session at 5:33 and then conclude it at 6:03.
Sounds good. Everybody's okay with that?
I would just note too, no action is planned after, or is expected afterwards. So without objection from the board, I'd release the clerk and also video folks too. We would just note the time that we do come back into session and for the minutes of the next meeting, but no action planned afterwards.